get excited about this one. How Xer back in the shed. Anakin Starkiller's with me.
Greetings, adopted one.
You got a saying for each one.
Yeah.
So we have the Book of Boba Fett sabers here from TXQ. And as you've seen in previous videos, we weren't happy with how they did the pommel. So if you pick at Starkiller enough, he'll finally crack and make you new pommels.
That's what I did.
The pommels are here now, and I'm going to have Anakin Starkiller go over the pommels, what you need to do to install them, and...
So the thing that bothered me, which, again, little pet peeve, but when you put the work in to design it and then it's machined, there's always something that you see that doesn't turn out exactly as you engineered or exactly as you intended. And the thing that bothered me was that these recesses are curved on the inside rather than a sharp corner. 99% of people won't notice it. I've seen that same thing happen on other people's sabers and I didn't notice it. But when you design it yourself, you notice the things that get changed through the process of translation that happens when you're machining it, right? So I had the idea of, you know what, I'll do some replacement pommels for no other reason than I can have the one exactly how I wanted it.
Me too.
And so what I did was I just was going to make the pommels that I had originally engineered, which would have a more solid cap on the bottom and would have this recess milled differently. But then I contacted you and you said, what about the orientation of the tri-ring? That's a problem that some people have been bothered by because depending upon how your TXQ comes together, the pommel might sit with the tri-ring in this orientation, it might be up here, it might be in the back. That's something that that seems to vary over different production versions. And so I was going to do a relatively simple pommel replacement, but you asked me to come up with something much more complex and difficult in order to get the tri-ring to sit where you wanted it.
Exactly.
So I decided, so what I did is I re-engineered it as a 3-part pommel construction so that this part will screw onto the base the way that TXQ originally had it, and has the same threading on the inside as was on the outside of the TXQ saber. But instead of just having a static pommel sit on the end, what you will do is you will insert the pommel cubes over the inner sleeve, and then the pommel cubes will be held into place with the pommel cap. So what you're going to be basically doing is creating a vise to situate the pommel cubes in the orientation that you
Perfect,
want.
man. It's freaking perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this is the replacement pommel that you can get.
Which is on here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the factory one here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I've worked with Starkiller on this, and I've seen the models, and I've just never seen the finished product until today. So it's really, really exciting. Well, I've seen it on the Zoom calls, but this is really, really exciting.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with very fine thread here.
This isn't actually a standard thread. It is like, this is an M33 thread, but the internal diameter of this is actually much larger than a standard M33 threading is.
Okay.
So when machining these, you end up having a very, very fine thread to sort of grip everything together, because that's the dimensions the TXQ needed in order to have their chassis fit.
I got you now. I got you now.
If this was a standard thread, it would be thin. It would be smaller in diameter, and it wouldn't be able to screw on there and hold the chassis the way they want it.
Okay. So when dealing with this kind of thread, it's best to
clean out the threads, make sure that there's no like little chips on the inside, right? To if there's any burrs, any chips, you're going to want to sand a little bit. You want to get in there with a wire brush to make sure that they're nice and clean, and then white lithium grease on the inside of the threads to make sure that everything screws together. On this particular pommel, like this one, when I pulled it out of its packaging, there was a little bit of resistance when screwing it together.
I saw it with my own eyes.
Right? I put the cubes on, and then when I came at it with the cap, I turned it, and it hit a little resistance. Now, when you hit that resistance, if that is the case, you stop. do not push forward, because if you push forward, what you run the risk of is cross-threading these things and having them sort of lock into place. And with aluminum parts like this, once they're cross-threaded, it's going to be really difficult to get them apart, and you're going to end up having to put so much stress on the parts themselves by like throwing in a vise or something that you could end up damaging them.
Yep.
So if you hit any amount of resistance, back it off, go in there, get your wire brush, clean out the threads on the inside, right? If need be, you could take a little piece of, like, let's say 600 sandpaper and just go over it to make sure that there's no rough edges, and then get in there with a white lithium grease, and you shouldn't have a problem.
We did this right here in the shed.
Yeah, it took
30 seconds?
Yeah.
Less than a minute.
30 seconds to just make sure that there were no rough edges, make sure there were no burrs that were going to stop things to screw together. And now with the grease, it goes together like
you can actually, they can't tell from, because they weren't here when we did this, but you can hear the difference.
Oh yeah.
You can hear the difference. There's no sound here. Before it was, like Starkiller said, take the time.
When you stop.
Yep, take the time.
Stop what you're doing.
It seriously took us 30 seconds. Wire brush, hit it with a rag, some grease, you're good to go. So, is this a small run, or is this, I mean, this isn't a very big run.
I produced 100 pommels. I'm sure you're going to take a couple of them.
Yes.
Some other people I know that are going to take a couple of them before they go up for sale. But in terms of Book of Boba Fett savers, these have been circulating quite widely. So there's going to be a lot of people, I think, that are going to want one to either deal with, the internal differences or the external differences, or to get the clocking the way that they want it, so they can wear it on their belt the way that it was intended to.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is TXQ has mass produced this thing.
They've done at least 4 different runs. They just started a new one where it's going to be completely clean, and there's a number of resellers that I see this show up at.
So my biggest thing, because I've been wanting this for a long time, when will these be in the store?
They will be in the store as quickly as I can box them together, and my wife and I are going to work over the next 2 weeks. I'm guessing this will probably show up right after Thanksgiving, because we'll have a couple of days home, and rather than talk to family, we'll build lightsabers. They'll come with a tri-ring, so you won't have to source it yourself. It's more accurate than the TXQ one. It's probably the exact tri-ring that was used, because this is an off-the-shelf item.
Yep.
And when we looked at the Book of Boba Fett saber and the saber from the Mandalorian, it looks like they were just using the off-the-shelf items that are readily available right now. So just get in there with with the needle nose pliers, and it'll stretch it out, and then put it either in a vise or in a thing of channel locks with like a little tape to make sure you don't scratch it, and you should be able to close it up no problem.
You want to do that right now?
Sure.
All right. Replace this one?
Yeah. That one I did because I didn't.
You don't like this one?
I didn't have anything better on hand at the moment. But I like. Oh, they should be nice and shiny.
You want to pinch it close for you too? You want to pinch it close for you?
No, I can probably handle that.
That white lithium grease works amazing, doesn't it?
I know it is. You wouldn't it's hard to think. It's hard to imagine what a difference it makes until you actually use it and you go, oh yeah, that was a big deal. See, I actually do some of the work every once in a while. Alex was amazed when I showed him my Sabine saber. He was like,
I'm not joking about that.
You actually built your own lightsaber gun. That's amazing. Instead of just sending it to me.
No, I'm serious. That was really good, dude. A lot of people don't give themselves enough credit. But this is the secret weapon.
Yeah.
And then the orientation.
And there you go.
You want these 2 Pommel cubes lined up, well, the recess here lined up with the control box, so the tri-ring sits here. And that fixes...
When Luke wears it in Book of Boba Fett, you could see that the control box sort of hangs backwards like that.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Looks awesome, man. Wicked good job. Oh. So very soon they'll be in the store right after Thanksgiving.
Right after Thanksgiving, yeah.
And then make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and hit the notification bell, because I'll be giving a 24-hour heads-up video of when they go live. And like I said, I bet you there's way over 500 of these made.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Way over 500. So there's only 100 Pommels. Make sure that you hit the bell to be notified when the video goes live.
And Danny just got one, so there you go.
Hey, all right. Thank you, kind sir. All right. It makes my day. Number 1. We're going to stamp it number 1.
Oh, my.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up this video. I want to thank Star Killer for coming out here and, most importantly, doing this run for me. He puts his own money into these things, and I wicked appreciate his time and all his effort. I want to thank you all for watching. Keep an eye out for the next video, and most importantly, be kind to one another. This is Hallowax.
Star Killer.
Out. So there's one thing that we left out. If you're going to acid age your pommel, it is best to do it in this order. Your first step should be cleaning all the threads and greasing them, like Star Killer and I go over in this video, and then putting it on your Book of Boba Fett saber and making sure that the tri-ring is in the right orientation. Now, once you have all those steps done, when you go to acid age your pommel, leave it together. Put it down in a bowl or paper plate when you go to put the acid on it, just like this. Put it downward. And then you can use a Q-tip or a rag to get underneath the pommel cubes. But I would not let the acid touch the threads whatsoever. You don't want it leaking in on these very small threads, because it will do some serious damage. So I just wanted to make that little service announcement that the correct way to acid age this and protecting your threads would be to keep it all together and age it. Alrighty, thank you.